all the receptive skills and how they're a basis for teaching. So, I'm going to start with a little game called a ladder race, which you're going to do in teams. Then we'll focus on the different subskills of reading. Subskills are like the minor skills that make up the big skill, which is reading. So you could take an analogy for this, driving, right? Sure, most of you know how to drive, but can you tell me what are the subskills of driving? Anyone tell me what are the subskills or particular skills of driving? If you're learning how to drive, what little skills do you have to learn?
Coordination, maybe? Memory?
Yes.
Memory?
Yeah, sort of muscle memory, right?
Yes.
I can see there's one person called HP. Who is that? Who's HP? HP. ¿Quién es HP?
So I'm Silvia Paez, sorry. I can't write my name on the...
Okay, let's change it for you then, Sylvia.
Yes,
Okay, so the subskills of driving, yeah. So how about being able to change gears, right? Knowing how to signal properly when you're turning right and turning left. Okay, so those are the subskills of driving. So today we're going to find out what are the subskills of reading and what are the subskills of listening. Then we'll do some typical reading exercises and we'll look at some differences between speaking and writing, which is that's going to be the bridge between reading and listening. We'll look at different aspects of listening. We'll look at some listening activities, and if there's time, we'll compare receptive skills lessons. All right. Just get you ready for this first activity. Anna, I don't seem to have Anna here today. Is that right?
Yes, sorry, I'm here, but I entered with my son's Zoom account where it says Alejandro.
Okay, Alejandro. Okay.
Yes, sorry.
That's you. Okay.
Yeah, that's Anna. Yeah, sorry.
Let me just change that if that's okay.
Yes.
So instead of Alejandro, it's Anna. Just gonna.
Perfect.
That's ready for this then. So Anna. Eduardo. Eduardo's not here. No. Ines is here. Leslie is here. Lourdes and Joaquin. Okay. Then we have Aitana, Mafer, Mariana, Sebastian, Andrea. Finally, Alejandra. Okay. Now, so let me give you the instructions for this game we're going to play called the ladder race. Okay, so you're going to see two like ladders, right? Escaleras on the board. Okay, represented by these two lines. Well, these sets of lines. Looks like this. Okay. So each ladder will have two vertical lines with 7 or 8 horizontal lines between them, like rungs. So the aim is to race to fill up the ladder spaces with things we read. Okay, starting from the bottom. So we have to begin from the bottom. Here we have the word email. Okay. Now, each item must be the same length or longer than the word beneath it. Okay. So I could start with email, but if I wanted to use poem, no, I can't. Yeah, I've got to think of a word that's longer than email in length. Number of letters has to be longer. Okay. So I don't know. Letter. Okay. 1, 2. So it's the same or longer, right?
Okay.
But then I could have newspaper after that. Okay, so each person in your group is going to take turns to write to things we read. Okay, and I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do this, and put you in your groups now. Now, into the chat. So Anna, Eduardo, Ines, Leslie, Lourdes, and Joaquin. Please click on that link. That's your link, okay? If you're not Eduardo and Anna, Ines, Leslie, Lourdes, and Joaquin, don't click on the link. Okay, now group B is Aitana, Maria Fernanda, Mariana, Sebastian, and Andrea. Okay, if you're any of those people, click on the link. All right. And our third group is comprised of Jesus, Heidi, Itzel, Sylvia, Paula, and Lupita. If you are any of one of those people, please click on the link. All right. Now
Excuse me, I didn't have the opportunity to click on the link because I have some connectivity problems.
Okay, well, let me
Okay.
give it directly to you.
Can you share the first link,
I'll
please?
share it again. Share the first
Yeah,
link again.
please. The first one.
Okay, please click on if that's your name.
Okay.
Okay. So, what are we going to do? Can anyone remember the instructions?
Yes, we're going to continue writing letters, words, a longer word than the first one.
Yeah. But what words do we choose? Are they things we read or things we listen to?
Read. Things we
Things
read.
we read. Okay, exactly. All right. So I'm going to start the breakout room now. And action. Please go to the breakout room and you may begin. It's a good idea if you could share the screen that you have. All right, let's just see what people wrote. You'll need these ideas for the next activity. Autobiography, encyclopedia list. Okay, good, yeah. That's A. Group A. Let's have a look at Group B.
C.
It's a couple missing here. Experiments. Do you mean like scientific experiments?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Advertisements, yes. Oh, that's a good one. Looks like the Group C and Group A are the joint winners. Well done.
Yay.
Aye. Aye. The next thing is you're going to stay in the same groups, but I'd like you to match the subskills. Remember, I mentioned subskills earlier, and the analogy is with driving a car, like being able to use the mirror to see backwards is like a subskill of driving. So skimming, or for gist, notice the pronunciation is gist, or general idea. Scanning for specific information, reading for detail, extensive reading, language learning activity, and inferring meaning from context. So I'd like you to think of an example of the type of text that we might typically read using these subskills. Okay, so I want you to match them. I'll give you the first one as an example. Book in a bookshop to see if it's worth buying. Right, that's typically what we just read. Okay, so I'm in a bookshop. I'm looking at the back of the book to get a general idea of what the book's about. Right, so I read this blurb at the back to see if the book is worth reading. Yeah, so that's skimming for gist. Okay, so I'm going to leave you in the same groups as before. So, but we're using a Jamboard now instead of a Google Doc. So if you are Anna, Eduardo, Leslie, Lourdes, and Joaquin, please join, click on this link. All right. Now, if you are Aitana, Eduardo, Marfa, Mariana, Sebastian, or Andrea, please click on this link. All right. If you are Jesus Felipe, Heide, Itzel, Sylvia, Paula, or Lupita, please click on this third link, Group C. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few minutes to talk together in the breakout rooms and try and match the things we typically read in this way. Okay. See if you can do it. I'll come and assist. You may have some questions. Let's begin. Same groups as before. Welcome, Eduardo. Great. So let's just have a look at what you discovered. So this is group 8. Yeah, those are all correct. And yeah, dictionary, yes. Well, I think we'd definitely scan that for specific information, because normally we're looking for like a word and maybe a definition to go with it. For a note, it depends what the purpose is and what kind of note it is. Yeah. Possibly though, it's more likely we would read it for detail, I would have thought. And a newspaper, we normally start by skimming, looking at the different headlines to see if an article interests us. So I'll probably put that there. Yeah, an article and an email often contain details that we have to read closely. Whole book for pleasure, autobiography, yes. For language learning. Well, I suppose we could use an encyclopedia for language learning, especially if it's the language of definitions. We could use it in a language class to teach students how to define using relative clauses. Yeah, could be. It could be a political magazine, and we're interested in the writers of the articles' political stance. That's often to do with inferring. Can be a more advanced reading skill. Inferring. Yeah, headlines. Cookbook looking for a recipe. Yes, definitely. Social media post for detail. Extensive reading for assessment. I'm not sure about that. What do you mean by assessment, guys?
Well, when you need to prove how on the knowledge that you have about certain topic, no?
Applying test, designing test.
Yeah.
I mean it as a test.
Or
Yeah,
maybe
it's
as an
just-
essay.
We don't usually get students to read. Look, I got this book. I got the book from the library. And I'm reading it for
What
pleasure.
about reading for detail?
No, the subskills I might use are I'm reading it fairly quickly. I'm not focusing on necessarily on every word. I often read more closely sections that I find more interesting or relevant to me. Yeah. But I don't think we would use extensive reading for assessment. We might use a book, what we call a graded reader. Have you heard of that? A graded reader? Those are often little books, and we encourage younger learners in particular to borrow them and take them home, and so that they're reading English outside the classroom. So we might say graded readers there. This is a expression that you will hear in the TKT, graded readers. Okay. If you're not sure about that, check in the glossary. Mentioned that last week, didn't we? The glossary. Now, Language learning. Yeah, reading an article for specific vocabulary. Correct. That's what we might use there as an intensive. And group C, let's check. Movie review, yes, see if it's an interesting movie. Calendar, scanning, dictionary, reading for detail. Yeah, especially if we were interested in some detail like the sports score. Although that could also be, that's probably scanning, isn't it? Sports scores. Whole book for pleasure, an article or essay. Yeah. First time when we read an article or essay, it might be extensively, but then we might go back later and read for detail. Yeah, lyrics of a song. Yeah. Especially if the teacher wants us to maybe focus on the words that rhyme. Even reading a poem, yes. Could be inferring what is meant by a particular word in this context, how the poet was feeling. So yeah, good job. Now, moving on to types of activities for reading and listening. In this section, I'm going to have you work in small groups again, and I'm going to give you a selection of worksheets. Just get those ready. So you're going to see some worksheets like this. And I'm going to have you brainstorm what types of activities you could do with these. There's another one. So this is obviously a article about a house in the early years of the previous century. Here's another one. You've got it's a restaurant menu. Okay. And there's a third one. And what is this one? It's like a shopping list. Okay. So I'm going to put these into the chat, and I'd like each one of you to download them to your computers, please. Starting with this one. Please download it.
How we do that?
Just click on it.
On
If
what?
you just click on the document, and you should be able to download it.
I think I moved.
There you go. Here's another one.
Please. Okay.
Yeah, so you should have 3.
1, 2.
Worksheet 1, worksheet 2, and worksheet 3. Please confirm that with a thumbs up that you have downloaded all of them? Good. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Now, this is an oral activity, and it's what we call a lluvia de ideas, right? A brainstorming. I'd like you to brainstorm some activities that you could do with these texts to develop reading skills. Okay, so I'd like you to think of a whole lesson like this, and think of the 3 different stages for a reading lesson. So normally, any reading lesson, mostly they follow this pattern of pre, while, and post. Right? Pre, while, and post. So think about before, at the beginning of the lesson, there's normally some pre-teaching of vocabulary. And there's often a prediction of there could be a prediction of the story using keywords. That's just one possibility. And then there's normally while reading tasks. So there's usually a just reading question, or there could be some other comprehension questions. And then a post-reading activity like a role play or writing to go with the reading. Okay. So you've got the 3. So I'd like you to please work together. I'm going to give you about 10 to 15 minutes to brainstorm some activities. Any questions?
No.
Okay. So think about the pre, while, and post. I'll put this into the chat there. So maybe one type of activity for this. Article. So a pre activity might be to teach some of maybe the vocabulary in the text, like shampoo. Well, maybe they know shampoo already. But the pre-activity could involve these photographs. What do they think the article is going to be about based on the photograph? A gist task could be read the article quickly and think of the headline. So that would be the gist question. Second could be true or false questions. Okay, so you decide. Work together. Think of some ideas.
Yeah, hi guys, what are we gonna do? What are we doing?
I don't know. Are we a group now?
I think yes, we're a group.
Okay. I didn't know. Just my connection got lost, so I came back and
Yeah, it's the
done.
same stuff. I was lost. I mean, I have some connectivity problems.
Okay, I'm hearing some good ideas. Let's have group 1 talk about what they would do with the 1900 house text and see if you agree. So, group 1. That's Ines, Leslie, Lourdes, Eduardo, Joaquin, and Anna. Give us your ideas.
Okay, if nobody else is gonna share.
Please.
For the before reading, we were talking about an imagining session, like asking the students like to close their eyes and think about what it would be like to live in the 90s household, like
Oh.
imagining, no, I don't know. Right now we have phones. Did they had phones? No, yes. What
Uh-huh.
would have been different? For the while reading, it would be underline things that creeps them out, or like stand up, like washing your hair with egg and lemon and discuss with everybody what was different. And for the after reading, we thought about role play and dress up like these little pictures over here and try to, yes, we'll play like if we lived back in those days.
Interesting ideas. Other groups, did you have any other ideas for the tasks that could be done with this text?
No, we agree with that.
Okay. I thought your ideas were good. However, I think you probably need some stronger comprehension questions. So for example, reading for detail questions. It could be true or false. So people had shampoo in 1900. True or false? And then the students have to justify. If
Their
the answer is
answer.
false, then they have to say, no, the answer is false because they had to wash their hair with egg and lemon. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good way to improve.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, group 2, I think you did this one about the shopping lists, right? Group 2. So that was Aitana, Andrea, Sebastian, and Maffer. You looked at the shopping list, right? What suggestions did you have?
So for the pre-reading activities we discussed, and we think that they should match the words from the list with images, and then write down some dishes from which the list may be, and create some sentences using the vocabulary. For the while reading skills, draw one word per list. And for the post-reading skills, to write down a recipe with the ingredients given in a list.
Oh, could be interesting, yeah. Did anyone else look at these? As it's for young learners, maybe you could start with talking about what their favorite foods are and then see the gist reading could then be to, after you've written down some of their favorite foods, then they read quickly and tick off the ones that are mentioned on the list.
Someone mentioned something about spelling the words or
Well, our group talk about like classifying what's in the list, like, oh, bananas, fruits, potatoes, vegetables,
Right.
something like that, like in comprehension of what does any word means.
Right.
classifying in lexical sets.
Exactly, lexical sets.
Yeah, it's like which lists don't contain fruit? Which list contains a dessert? So I mean, that could be a reading task, second reading task. Which list contains a dairy product? All of them, right? They all contain a dairy product because they all contain ice cream or milk. Dairy means a milk product. Okay, and what was your suggestion for the post? After the reading, what could they do?
Maybe separate them into specific groups, like fruits, dairy products, and etc. etc.
For what
Create-
purpose?
Create the menu, elaborate the menu.
Or they can play like buy and sell in the little store, these products. Like in a shopping.
Yes, we were also talking like about making like a little role play in the supermarket, or also
Could be.
dividing like the class in 5 groups and make every group like
recipe.
memorize the list, and
Okay.
they need to go and get everything that's on the list without taking a second look at the list. So it's also like memory and reading and well, comprehension.
Some sort of memory game, yeah, could be. Good.
What
Okay.
about use those words to prepare a dish or something?
Well, that would certainly be a productive activity, wouldn't it? Make some sort of dish or meal using those ingredients. And finally, group 3, Alejandra, Jesus, Lupita, Paula, and Sylvia. What ideas did you come up with this menu?
Okay, that we will be starting with a pre-reading about vocabulary, food vocabulary in general, dishes, and the way a menu is divided by starters and salads or appetizers, main courses, maybe side dishes, and desserts. Vocabulary. Then how as you suggested, we could be like asking about how much is it if you combine certain dishes or just one, which is the cheapest or the most expensive. And
or look for the suggestion, no? Look for which dish contains certain ingredients, no? In order that they go to the menu and read and identify which is the part of the menu or the appetizer or the main course or the dish that contains, for example, I don't know, okay, let's say vinaigrette or something like that, no?
yes. And also in vocabulary, also talk about how the food is made. I mean, grilled, boiled, sliced, all that marinated. The meaning of those words, you know, that have to be have to do with how food is made, and then
Well, okay. Be careful though, because remember, this is a reading skills lesson, not a vocabulary lesson.
yeah, so we can ask which dish is boiled, which
That's better.
yeah,
Yes.
which dish is grilled, which one is,
Yeah.
you know, like that would be like the yeah the of that activity of showing
So
them.
then they could find that information in the
Yeah.
text. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sometimes we've got to change the words a little bit when we're formulating questions for comprehension. So a different word that means the same as grilled is broiled. So you could say, which dish is broiled?
Yes, like a
Yeah.
tricky one.
Yeah, just to make it a bit more challenging for them. Because if you say which dish is grilled, they're obviously going to say lime grilled chicken. Yeah. So we need sometimes to reformulate or change some of the wording to make it a bit more challenging, don't we?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And then we could ask them to create their own menu.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and with prices, so they can know how much it would cost.
Yeah, even that, either that or have maybe a role play with the waiter and customers. Good job. Okay, well, we've only got about 12 minutes before we go for our break. So we're going to look at the difference between writing and speaking now. What is the difference between spoken language and written language? Because this is the difference between listening and reading. So I'm going to give you another Jamboard. And on the yellow side, we've got written language. And the orange side, we've got spoken. So we've got to match the equivalent from each side. So often uses rather general vocabulary and simple grammar is spoken, whereas written often uses quite exact vocabulary and more complex grammar. Okay, so that's your task. Group A, it's the same groups as before, just for simplicity. Coming into the chat now. So it's Anna, Edu, Leslie, Ines, Lourdes, and Joaquin. Please click on that one. Group B. Aitana, Heidi, Martha, Mariana, Sebastian, and Andrea. Group C. Philly, Luis, Itzel, Sylvia, Paula, and Lupita. Please click on, give me the thumbs up to confirm. All right, I'll open the breakout rooms. I'll give you about 5 minutes to do it, no more. You may need to discuss. Please share the screen if you can. Heidi, please go to room 2. So just to I'm going to share this these answers with you, so you've got a copy of this in through the chat. So these are the main differences then between written language in English, spoken language. Stays on the page. There's a degree of control over the speed in which we can read it. Whereas spoken language disappears as soon as it's spoken. Sometimes it's spoken fast, sometimes slowly, with or without pauses. But we can't always ask the speaker to slow down. Sometimes we can when we're, I don't know, on the telephone to someone. But if we're watching a university professor give a talk or a lecture, then it can be difficult to ask them to slow down. However, we can recommend to our students to maybe record things. That could help them with their listening. Written language in English. It's clear what the sentences are because they have punctuation if it's written well, and those indicate where the sentences are the capital letters. Now, in spoken English, we use stress and intonation to indicate boundaries between sentences. Now, linguists call spoken sentences utterances, right? Because they don't have necessarily the same sort of grammatical structure as sentences. Now, they consist of letters if words and sentences and punctuation join together in the written language. Whereas spoken language has its own grammar, consists of connected speech, sometimes complete sentences in more formal speech, but very often in informal conversation it's incomplete, or even words. Written language in English has very little visual support, although one of the participants in the group said, well, it depends, doesn't it, on the text that you're reading. If you're reading a newspaper, for example, you may have graphics and graphs and photographs to help you understand. However, if you're reading something like a novel, it's pure text without any visual support, or if it's an article. Whereas in speech, body language is used to support communication, for example, gestures and facial expressions. Written language is usually quite well organized. Sentences follow one another in logical order, adjoined to previous sentences or following sentences using connectors, conjunctions, and so on. By contrast, spoken English contains interruptions, hesitations, repetitions, and frequent changes of topics. Written language uses quite exact vocabulary, more complex grammar. Spoken language, by contrast, uses rather general vocabulary because usually the speakers are so involved in what they're saying they don't necessarily think about the vocabulary as carefully as they would when they're writing, right? Or they don't have access to a dictionary, right? So they can't look up words. Whereas if you're writing, you can go online and go to a thesaurus to find different vocabulary and even research the grammar. Yeah. Okay, well, after the break, we'll continue considering what are the issues, what are some of the problems students may have with listening. Okay, so let's take our 10-minute break and return at 5:41. So Go and get some refreshment, stretch your legs, go to the bathroom. See you back here